Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk
Yeah.
about professionalism in the field. Um, now that we're kind of in this COVID bubble, now that it's kind of, burst a little bit and we started
Mhm.
noticing, different issues that have been going on within the field. One of those big pieces that has been a little bit talked about here and there is really the professionalism piece. Are we considered, professionals in our field versus are we just kind of that babysitter, holding the line for a couple of years until they head into K-12? I'm curious to your thoughts.
Yeah, there's always been a stigma on being an early ed educator, and it's not a localized, from my experience, it's not a localized problem. I had my teaching experience in the Philippines, as I said, and I went to California. We moved to New Jersey, we moved to New Hampshire, and eventually ended up in Massachusetts. And everywhere I went, I think um, the the thinking is if you can't get a job anywhere else, daycare is your best option. And that rubbed me the wrong way, really, because I feel like there's got to be somebody like me who really wants this to be their full-time job, who wants this to be a profession, that this is their calling. So back home, when you're a teacher, you're not regarded as highly as a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, but that's just because of culture, probably. But when I came here, I also noticed that, oh, so where did you get your CDA? They were asking me that. I said,
Yeah.
I actually have a bachelor's in this and this and that. And some people have a pushback on that because they feel like, sure, you're talking from a graduate course or something. And I felt like, why is there that? Where's the divide coming from? And
Hmm.
then I started to understand, like, oh, okay. So once you get a human growth and development course, you can you can get your teaching certificate if you have these additional courses. So okay, so it's not really a path that you take to be like what you do when you're a doctor, like you go to residency and everything else. So
Hmm.
I said, okay, so it is a problem still, even here in the US. Um, what I would say to that is, I feel like it's very difficult to go to higher ed everywhere
Oh yeah.
because of the cost, because of the time that it needs to, you really need to dedicate the time for that.
Hmm.
But if we can get the training up, and because there's a lot of early educators who have been in the field for like 20 years, 30 years,
Oh yeah.
and they're set in their ways. They're set in their ways, and there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of changes happening with the kids, and sometimes you just need to get on with the times. So maybe if it's a requirement for them to maintain your certificate for the year, then you
Hmm.
need to take this or something to that effect. I don't know. You probably know better because
Well, I did my
that's
dissertation
what
in
I
it. Yeah.
think.
My entire dissertation actually was in the training component and trying to figure out why the degrees aren't necessarily there. Um, and one of the factors that I was kind of looking at was the fact that a lot of our field is so practical based, right? It's
Mhm.
physical, it's care based. So everything a lot of what we're doing is very much, making sure that diapers are being changed, that they're being fed on time, all those pieces. But what was missing is the educational piece, the theory piece behind
Yeah.
it. One of my biggest pet peeves right now, and it's only been in the last couple of days, actually, it just clicked all of a sudden, was that um, you can take one class in child development in Massachusetts, but then you can evaluate children, which I think is
Mm.
kind of weird, right? I can't
Yeah.
think of another field where you can do that. You can't be a psychologist with one class in child development.
Yeah.
You can't do it in medicine. You can't be a nurse. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like I said, okay, like there's got to be more than this. Like human growth and development, yes, it does cover a lot of the things that we do, like you said. One of my teachers called it, it's very custodial what we do. Cleaning up and making sure they're fed and making sure they're safe. Those are basic things. But then, that there's a development that happens, I believe from conception.
Yeah.
Once they have life, they're in your tummy, then the learning starts, the emotion starts, the personality start. So you have to deal with that. You have to mold the personalities. You're bringing up a person. You're not just, you're not bringing up plants,
Yeah.
of which I cannot do anyway. I cannot ever. Oh, I cannot ever. My husband, hi.
I was gonna say, if you need to, you can go get the door.
Right. I think he left my package.
Uh,
The Amazon delivery guy is my best friend. You
that's
know,
awesome. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry about that.
What were we just talking about? I totally just lost it.
About the training piece and
Yeah,
about the education piece. Yeah. And I think, I don't know if I'm just being very idealistic about it, but when you do study more than child development, like how the brain develops,
yeah,
how the mindset is developed, how personalities are, and how what you can do with that, like how language is being learned, all those things that you can start doing in infants. I think the practice or the way you do your care
yeah,
will elevate because you understand the reason behind why we do this.
yeah,
Not just like, as long as they're fed, as long as they're happy, we're good. Well, yeah, that's basic care, but try to elevate it because we just don't. If we don't want to be called glorified babysitters, then we need to prove to them that I studied this. There's this research that came out. We need to be more aware of our profession and be proud of it.